Today we are going to discuss modern theory of international trade. In modern theory of international trade, there are two parts. One is HO model, which is called factor. This means in HO model we know that if there is two country A and country A has capital abundant, but country B is labor abundant. So country A will produce capital intensive goods and also it exports capital intensive goods to country B. Like country B also produces labor-intensive goods due to factor of labor abundant in his country and export it to country A. The second is the factor price equalization theorem. We will discuss the latter. Then HO model. HO model is given by two economists, Hecksher in 1919 and ohilin in 1933. As per the theory, the immediate cause of international trade is the difference in the relative price of commodity between the countries and these differences in the factor supplies in the two countries. से कहला जे जो supply are different in the both the country of different factor of production because its factor price are different. Means if in a country there is more capital than labor, then the price of the capital will be cheaper relatively to country B. So this said that the immediate cause of international trade is the differences in the relative price. The trade which is happening is due to difference in the relative prices. Relative prices is differs due to physical quantity of factor production in both the country which is available. Some assumption. It is called 2x2 model, that is two country like country and country B, with two goods, good C and good D, and two factor production labor and capital. The second assumption is capital country A will be capital abundant country B will be labor abundant country, and it will produce and export capital intensive goods, and it will produce and export labor intensive goods. Third is production function is identical for each good in the two countries. It means that let's suppose there are two product, good C and good D. Good C is capital intensive goods and good D is labor intensive goods. We know that capital intensive good will be produced by the country A. Let's suppose the production function of good C in a country like this, and in country B, good C if good C is produced by the country B, then the production function will be like country A. Let's suppose this is the A country, this will be B country. The production are similar, means identical. If good C is capital intensive goods, the labor and capital which is used to produce good C is equal in the both the countries. Likewise, capital goods, labor intensive goods we can be produced in both the countries through using same amount of labor and same amount of capital. So it is called identical for each product. Okay. Then fourth assumption is diminishing marginal return to scale. Then actually meaning of factor abundance and factor endowment. Meaning of factor abundance or factor endowments. We can know the meaning of factor abundance in two different definitions. But let's have definition one. It's called in terms of factor price rate. We should know what is the meaning of the factor abundance or factor endowment. Or in definition two, we should know that in definition of factor abundance in physical terms. So in definition one, the terms of factor price is called price criterion. We'll understand it. So if there is a country A and it has more capital, less labor, then supply of capital is more, prices are low for capital, so factor price is low, so produce and export capital intensive goods. In physical quantity, it's called physical criterion. Capital abundant country, let's suppose country A, if and only if it is endowed with a higher proportion of capital to labor. It means that if country A has more capital in physical quantity relatively to labor than other country, then it should supply or produce and export capital intensive good. As you know that there is a assumption that this theory is based on supply criteria. It ignores demand. Okay, so you know that what is definition 1. Definition 1 means in terms of factor prices. Definition 2 means definition 1 and definition 2 are not same. Definition 1 and definition 2 are not equivalent. It means that we will understand it. It is said that definition 1 and definition 2 are not equal because HO model is valid in definition 1 but it is not valid in definition 2 properly. So we will discuss it. So HO model would follow only price criterion. HO model would follow only price criterion. But we explain it in the form of two definition that we can understand how HO model works in both the definitions. So first is definition is price criterion of factor abundance. This is HO model. This is y-axis. This is x-axis. We take labor in x-axis. We take capital in y-axis. This is ISO cost line. ISO cost line that like it is same like as budget constant, budget line. It is ISO cost line of capital. This is also ISO cost line of capital. This is ISO cost line of labor and this is ISO cost line for labor. This is labor goods AA. This is BB. This is capital goods. P0 capital abundance country for country A. P1 labor abundance for country B. A is isoquant for capital goods. B is isoquant for labor goods. We should know that the curve is the both IC. The both IC like both eyes A and AA and ABB will intersect at only one point. This is Q. So it is to know that if the isoquant intersect at Q, this will be price criterion and HO model is valid. It said that two isoquant cuts each other at only once, that is at point Q. This indicates that there is no reversal of factor intensity. No reversal factor intensity means, so we should know that what is factor intensity. By reversal factor intensity means if there is two country A and country B. Country A is capital abundance country. Country B is labor intensive country. Well, labor abundance country. If there are two production, steel and cloth. Suppose in country A, cloth is capital intensive goods. It means to produce 1 unit of cloth, it needs more capital and less labor. For this same product in country B, it is labor intensive goods. One means in country B to produce 1 unit of cloth, it needs more labor and less capital because of labor intensive goods. So it means both the country produces same goods and exports same goods. So there will be no trade. So HO model here is invalid because HO model said that a country produces one product and second country produces another product. They will export with each other. Though the condition is not applied, so HO model is failed. So here another assumption taken as no reversal of factor intensity means country A produce will be steel, country B will produce cloth and they will export with each other. Meaning that one commodity is capital intensive in both the countries and other commodity is labor intensive in both the countries. Country A, 1 unit of to produce capital good is like HD of K, HFL. HD, this is HD of capital and HF of labor to produce capital goods because it is lies on B isoquant, BB isoquant. To produce 1 unit of labor good, JEK and JEK of capital and F of L. So AA will labor goods. This will be taken as country A because it is lies in the P0 line which is ISO cost line for country A. So 1 unit of labor good is JEK. So this is JEK our capital needs and this will be labor. So to produce labor intensive goods in country, it will need same amount of capital with more labor. So why a country A would specialize in labor goods? He can produce capital goods with same level of capital with less labor. So he will produce labor capital goods and export it to another country. Like this, country B 1 unit labor good to produce mg of K and mt of L. So mg of labor and mg of capital, mt of labor to produce one labor goods, and to produce one unit capital good it needs R J of capital and N R of labor. It means same unit of labor it needs more capital to produce capital goods. Why it should specialize in this production? So he will try to produce labor intensive goods with same level of capital, with same labor and with less capital. So 1 unit of capital good is K RNL. So country A will produce capital goods because it needs cheaper cost relative to country B. Like so country B will produce labor good because it needs cheaper cost relatively to country A. The first definition works is called that HO model is valid. Second condition is physical criterion. It is more beautiful to understand how the HO model works. So this is KA by LA greater than KB upon LB. K means capital A for country A, L means labor A for country A. So capital labor ratio is greater than capital labor ratio of B. It means the more capital is available in country A and more labor is available in country B. So this is the diagram. This is the capital good intensive good, this is labor intensive good, this is the production function for country B, this is the production function for country A. This is the line in which the both the country produces same proportion of two goods by both the countries. Country A will produce at Q1 and country B will produce at Q2. It said that P1 is steeper than P2. So the curve P1 is steeper than the P2. We can say that steel is cheaper in country A and cloth is cheaper in country B. Since they produce goods at per factor abundance, so they produce goods as per the factor abundance. So abundance. Does it follow from this that you know that the country which has more factor production of or a capital labor, he will produce that type of good? It means that they will export or not. So does it follow from this country A that export steel and country B export cloth? So the answer depends upon very much upon demand factors. At that time we ignore demand, we focus on supply. But it will export or not to export, it will depend upon demand factors. There is two possibilities. If the consumption bias and production bias towards same direction, if consumption and production bias towards the same direction, means the consumption in a country A, consumption increases, production increases, means capital intensive goods in country A produces capital intensive goods. The consumer of country A will demand more capital intensive goods rather than labor intensive goods. So this is the called same direction. Then country A would import steel, rather export same for country B. This is invalid. The second is if consumption bias and production bias are in the opposite direction. If consumption bias and production bias are in the opposite direction, then HOF model is valid. So opposite direction means if a country produces capital intensive goods, then consumer of the country A demand labor intensive goods for same as country B. So country A will still export steel and country B export cloth. The diagram will be understand. This is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. In y-axis we take steel, in y-axis we take cloth. So this is the example of when the consumption bias and production bias and are in the opposite direction. So this is the PP line. We said that iso cost line. This is the production function for country B. This is the production function for country A. This is the indirect. This is the indifference curve for both the consumer. When both the consumer prefer same taste. This is small ICA. It is preference of the consumer which is living in the country A. This is the ICP, preference or taste of the consumer in country B. This is also ICA1. This is also consumer preference in country A. This is also consumer preference of in country B. So a bit for the better understanding. Sorry. So the country A production shifts to, let's suppose, to A. Here, let's suppose the country A produces at point A, and country B production shifts to point B. So country B produces this point, country A produces this point. More production. This means greater specialization but not complete specialization. There is more of one type of assumption that in H1 model there is greater specialization, not complete specialization. Greater specialization means he can produce more and more, not completely. Okay. Also he can produce also labor intensive goods but in very less amount. This is called complete. This is called greater specialization, not complete specialization. Here we understand this diagram. So this is a production function. In fact, there are three types of conditions. We can say that if the preference or taste of the both consumer of the country and country will be same, then this is the C is the point, and the country A produces at point A and country B produces at point B. So means country A is capital intensive goods and steel is capital intensive goods. So here we take steel. So AE will be exported by country A to country B, and EC level of cloth will be imported from country B by the country A. Like CD will be imported from country A by country B, and DB will be exported. Exported means exported cloth to country A. This first case will be khatam. The second, when it is necessary that taste and preference of both the consumers in both the countries will be same. There will be realistic example. There will be different. So for the different case, we take different indifference curve like ICA and ICB. As you know that the production is A and the production is B. A for country A, B for country B. Now the export will be less, import will be less. Now AH is export of steel, HR is the import of cloth, TF is the export of cloth to TF is the import of steel from country A, and AB is the export of country FB is the export of cloth to country A. The first condition is, second condition will be n. Now the third condition, when the production and the consumption is same level, means if the country produces the 10 unit of production and also the consumer of this country also consume 10 units, then the indifference curve will lies at point A for country A, and the indifference curve lies in that point B for country B. So there will be no trade. It is the situation of a Turkey. Here we know that is the PP line, the international terms of trade line, relative factor price ratio line after trade is established between two factors. When taste we pattern same country, we know that इतना tax patterns are different in both the countries. IC and ISB with export import हुआ import हुआ इतना authorization हमने discuss किया. Demand patterns are unidentical, मतलब there is no demand, मतलब country A IC tangent point, then they decide to consume when they produce, so there are no trade. Where HO model will be valid in case of production specialization. So HO model is valid, but up to a certain level that is production specialization, not in structure of trade. Then first condition, then we will discuss the second definition. Now we will discuss the first definition, that is called same direction definition. Here this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. We'll take cloth on x-axis, we'll take steel on y-axis. This is the production function for country A, this is the production function for country B. This is the P line, international terms of trade line. Here this is the ICE A, independence curve of consumer A for country A, independence curve for country B. Country A demand bias towards capital goods. We know that country A produces capital intensive goods, and the demand for and the consumer demand in country A will be capital intensive goods. Country A demand biased towards capital intensive goods. Country B demand biased towards labor intensive goods. We know that because we are studying the same direction. Country A specialized in steel production. Country A specialized in steel production, which is produces at point A. At point A, and consumes at D. Export EA, imports ED. Specialized steel production at point D, at point A, and consume at point D. So export EA amount and import ED amount. Export EA amount and import ED amount. Because if the ICA, suppose ICA lies here, then this will be export, this will be import for country A, but here IC lies here, so this is export, this is import. So export EA, import, export EA, import ED. Because producer K because country A produces K means capital intensive goods, so he export it, but he imports K intensive goods and export L intensive goods, though he produces capital intensive goods because of capital abundant country, but he also import capital intensive goods from country B because the consumer demands capital intensive goods more than the labor intensive goods, and he export the labor intensive goods. Here, like in country B, special in cloth production, which is at point B, which is capital labor intensive goods, so consume at point Z. Export, this is BF export, this is FCM import. Same for country J, it expression same as country A rabe, same like as country A. So there is direct conflict that HO model fit. Why it is a direct conflict? HO model said that one country produces capital intensive goods, so he will be export capital intensive goods, obviously, and another country produces labor intensive goods, he will export labor intensive goods. But in this model, produces capital intensive goods but export labor intensive goods, import capital intensive goods, though there is a direct conflict, so this HO model fail. Here demand reversal, one factor demand reversal. Demand reversal means capital surplus country imports labor intensive and goods and vice versa. Means capital surplus countries should export capital intensive goods, but rather exporting it, he imports it and export labor intensive goods. So here demand reversal is applied. Here consumption and production goes in same direction, but also consumption base is more than the production base. So consumption base means consumption, though economy produces at point B, but consumer demand more than B point. So there is more consumption bias than the demand bias. Than the production bias. We have some, every theory has some critical evaluation. We are starting a critical evaluation. So, ohilin got Nobel Prize in 1979 for his work in pure theory of trade, but Leontief, Walters, Minhas criticized it in the form factor indices reversal argument through Leontief paradox through demand reversal argument. We know that reversal argument we have already studied, like here, this condition, the same direction condition. So it is, we know that this point, so we also came to know that point A and point B. Factor intensity reversal argument. Assumption in HO model. We know that in HO model we take assumption that there is no factor intensity reversal argument, but in criticism we take factor intensity reversal argument. Means production was different for different goods, but they are identical for each good in two countries. It is the assumption. But in factor reversal exists, then both iso quant cut more than one, so HO model will be invalid. You know that HO model isoquant will be caught at each other at point Q in first diagram. Here at point Q in first diagram. So the factor intensity exists. It means what? It means what? Factor intensity reversal means, we will understand it. This is the x-axis, y-axis, this is the x-axis, this is the labor, this is the capital, this is the isoquant line for country A, this is the isoquant line for country B. Here country A steel produces, in country A steel is the labor intensive, but before we know that steel is a capital intensive, but we take it as labor intensive goods. In cloth we take capital intensive goods. In country A, capital surplus country, so he will produce more cloth. Country A use same amount of capital but more labor for steel than the cloth. Cloth has a higher capital labor ratio and steel has a lower capital labor ratio. So a country A produce and export capital intensive goods, that is cloth, obviously, because country A is capital intensive, capital abundant country, and here in country A steel is the cloth is the capital intensive goods, so he will produce and export it. For country B, cloth is labor intensive goods, steel is capital intensive goods. Country B will be labor surplus country, he will produce more cloth and export it. So in case both the country produce and export the same commodity, so HO model will fail regarding the structural commodity trade. HO model fail because same demand, because both the country produces same amount, produces same goods and export same goods. So here the theorem fail. But in basis of factor, but may you have some type of conflict in demand reversal. Okay, but I will make you clear that in demand reversal or same direction theory, demand bias towards capital intensive goods. It means though country A produces capital intensive goods, that is steel, but people demand steel in country A, not demand cloth, which is labor intensive. So this is demand reversal. But in factor intensity reversal argument, it is said that in country A cloth is capital intensive, in country B cloth is labor intensive. So this type of something like argument. So here it costs this one and B normally. So we are starting that now second case. In second case, it is not necessary that it should cut more than 2 times. May it is cut at once, or they don't even cut. Maybe it is cut 2 times, or it may not be cut, or maybe cut at once. So this is the capital. This will be labor at Q. IQ is upon tangent to each other. This and this. Factor price of A is a P0. Factor price of country A. This is P0, and this is also. And factor price of country B is P1 and P1. This one. Country A, cloth, capital intensive good. Obviously, you know that. Country B, steel, capital intensive goods. So here, OA is the capital to produce steel. OC is the capital which is needed to produce steel. OA is the capital to produce cloth. So more capital is needed to produce cloth. So same level of capital is needed to produce cloth with more labor. So he will choose to produce steel, but he has more capital. So and cloth is a capital intensive good. So country A will produce cloth and country B will produce steel, which is capital intensive goods. So now another one criticism will be discussed later. Thank you.